Hello comic book fans, here's Earl Grey, and today I want to talk about Farel Dalrymple. I've got quite a few books from him in my collection, and I think they are the most of what's published by him. At least there's a story he drew for Mike Mignola, some horror-y stuff. But let's start with the books that I own already. And I think he's best known for the work, for the art he did on Brandon Graham's Prophet. Although this art is nothing short of amazing. It doesn't stood out for me because the other stories in this book by the other artists were quite amazing as well, if not spectacular, like the Brandon Graham story that followed right on Dalrymple's part here. And the coloring in this story lacks a bit this handmade feel that qualifies most of the other Dalrymple stories. The color choices are very good, as you can see here. But the way the coloring is done is a bit too digital for my old-fashioned eye. You have already these Dalrymple monster guys here. Oh, yeah, here's the start of the Brandon Graham story. But I've did already a panellogy about Brandon Graham, so let's stick with Farel Dalrymple. So, here's the story he did for Volume 2. And that's something you will see in his other stories as well, these tentacle structures that are connecting to the eyes of the character here, of John Prophet. And that this is very typical for Farel Dalrymple as well. A spectacular a picture where you don't know where to look at first. Bit like this children books where you should search for, in Germany it's a Willy, for a figure that's somehow hidden in the giant picture. So nice stuff indeed. And these fairy tale characters, they're right out of Dalrymple's brain. You will see them in some seconds when I show you another book of him. Yeah, amazing art. There's no discussion. And for Prophet Volume 3, he sadly, unfortunately, did only the cover, but what a cover that is. Very poppy. And this one has a bit more of the Farel Dalrymple typical coloring. He developed one by one, I think, and it graces this book here, The Ranchies, a book about children and about childhood, the fantasies, the liberty, the freedom, the brutality that comes with childhood. But this book is isn't certainly nothing for kids. That's not very difficult to see. If you flip through some pages, you very soon get the impression that this is not for your 10-year-old kid at home. And here you have this trope, this obsession with tentacles that stuck in someone's eyes. It's not the last time Dalrymple uses this, and it's quite yucky. And this book here, The Ranchies, is a thick one with more than 300 pages. Not much bigger than my hand. But it's a good format if you ask me. You can carry it with you, you can flip through it. It wouldn't hurt if the pages were a bit bigger, but then this book would be heavy as hell, and so I like it, the way it's been done. And this book is not about the innocence of childhood. It's about childhood, but not about the innocence, because therefore these kiddies are killing way too much people. But we can understand why they're killing them, because they're just monsters. They're zombies. Wait a moment. Shadow Man, as Dalrymple calls them. If you ask me, it's quite daring, even for a book as big as this one, to include in it so many characters. And somehow some characters just get lost on the way in the story. For an example, this band's dude here. He plays a big role in the beginning, but then somehow he's lost, and some others are not used to their full potential. But maybe this is a sign that we will see Ranchies Volume 2 in the future. That would be amazing. You have not a very tight storytelling here. There are many holes in the story and the narrative, but I don't know if this is a flaw or a strength, because Dalrymple develops here a surreal, dreamlike storytelling, and there are some real fights in it. It quickly jumps over into this surreal horror, where things happen that aren't really explainable. The moment when this book really got me, I mean, got me like a fish on a hook and enjoying to die. Oh, I'm getting a bit too much pathos here, but this page, when you see the layer of the kids in their post-apocalyptic world, this is so great. Again, just on this not so big book, you got a full description of a layer of an hideout you dreamt of as a kid. At least I used to think of places like this one. Somehow cozy, somehow dangerous, somehow exciting, warm, and most important, no adult nowhere. And this continues through the book. There's another hideout too here. And the storytelling just drags you through this complex of small houses or flats that are connected to each other under the surface of this destroyed world. A place like this reminds me a bit of the fantasies I once had when I was a child. There was a place beside a football field with bushes and shrubs and plants all over, and we built our caves in it and imagined weird sci-fi or Stone Age fantasy stuff we are doing in them. Even though it's not so cute as many people think that child fantasies are cute, even though we have a blue raccoon ratty animal that's somehow a bit cute sometimes, but these kids, they use drugs, they shoot, they hit each other, they cut their hands and so on and so on. But they are the only living beings in this post-apocalyptic world, some anthropomorphic half-animal beings included. They are the only living beings in this world if living equals for you being an individual, having reserved your individuality. The adults are all turned into monsters and so on, like I said. This is a cute little girl that reads in comic books mythological spells and whatnot. And this comic book aptly titled The Ranchies, is a link to another world, the world of Hollis. Fat little outsider kid in a realistic world, as in a world of our place and time. He reads this Ranchie book as well and dreams of being a superhero, but in reality, as you can imagine, he is the target of the mockery or the bullying of his of the other kids. So this story is linked somehow through dreams, through an amulet, and through this comic book with the Ranchies world. Hollis later on gets involved in this Ranchies world. But I think it's very significant that no adults turn up here either, although they are existent still, but in a not positive way. Just take for an instance this dialogue between these two boys here. Bert gets all the best stuff, man. I wish my parents were divorced. Your parents are still married? Gay. Somehow it's funny, somehow it's sad. Like in a social commentary of sorts, if you think about it. How many parents actually in real life are divorced when kids turn 13, 14 or so. Parents don't turn up, they work when their kids need their help. And so Hollis befriended a ghost. Now talking about adults here, when they try to educate children that are not behaving like they should do, here in a church-like setting, they let them sit on a diaper chair and mock them, baby, baby, diaper, diaper, and so on. Or they are not shown, the adults. Here you see Hollis, this time without his superhero outfit most of the time. He wears this even in school. A fantastic book, I can tell you. Even this anti-hero Hollis, he's not cute at all, at least in my opinion. Is growing on you and getting a connection to your heart and soul. Wonderful, sensible drawings and wonderful, wonderful coloring as well. This is what I meant earlier with this handmade feel. You can look at each page with the feeling that this is the best coloring, the best artwork in this vein that you've looked at for at least for a long time. I have nothing that I could compare with this. Beautiful, beautiful, gruesome, sometimes heart-gripping book. Even though it's still true what I've said earlier, that the story is really sometimes very loose and shaky, and it's quite obvious that Farel Dalrymple didn't had a master plan when he started this book. He looked a bit where the story took him, and he writes on the story and on his characters that he obviously loved and loves. So many good things here. If you want to check out Farel Dalrymple, maybe or surely you have to start with this book here. And if you don't like this, I don't like you. No. But tell me, when you don't like this, why? It would be interesting. Because I think this is comics at its best. So I forgot to mention, the Ranchies was published by First Second. Maybe my first book by this publisher, but surely not the last one. Published by who? What's Adhouse Books? Is this fine hardcover here? Delusional. A collection of the graphic and sequential work of Farel Dalrymple. It collects stuff from some of the anthologies he's doing also, or he did before. And some of the stuff, as you see here, Hollis, is connected to his Ranchies world. And there are some wonderful black and white stories that are somehow a bit surreal, somehow a bit Daniel Close-like. If you look at these guys here. And some sketches he did from other works. Here's a Fear Agent guy drawing. Somehow to make a tribute to Fear Agent, somehow to mock this a bit. And in the same vein, here's a, don't know, should that be Prophet or Conan? Somewhere in the middle. On the last pages, more sketchy stuff, drawings, and I say sketchy stuff, and here you have perfect done artwork. Like I said, for other stories too. And you have lots of developed short stories. It's a bit the same concept as Brandon Graham did with his Walrus art book. Although here are more finished comics. Beautiful stuff as well. This fish is from another story. This goes right into another universe of Farel Dalrymple. Möbius tribute. Another thing he has in common with Brandon Graham. Yeah, here this stuff is somehow an extension of Pop Gun War here. So this is nice as well, and especially nice because I have this little drawing by Mr. Dalrymple. Maybe this is the first thing that was published by him from 2003. If we're talking graphic novel here, just black and white with some etchings he did as extra pages. a very surreal story about this guy that got angel wings from another guy. And though you might say, oh, a guy with angel wings, how kitschy. There's nothing kitschy in this, nothing cliché in this book. But very down-to-earth story connecting magic, fantasy, street wisdom to a really gripping story with very touching characters. And in this story, I think it pays off that the cast of characters is in comparison overseeable. So we can connect to, for example, this guy who's the main character, or we can relate somehow to him, although he is really one kind of a guy with his unique problems. So, you get the idea, maybe, at least, that this is a fantastic drawn book with very odd and at the same time familiar characters. And the rest you will find out if you can buy this book and read it. I recommend. So, the first time I stumbled upon Farel Dalrymple must be in this book, Bizarro World, that collects a lot of superhero mockery in the DC side, on the DC side of things. And this story is very short. Okay, it's a short story, but very touching as well. It consists just out of the drawings from Farel Dalrymple and the caption boxes from, who wrote this? Dylan Horrocks. And it describes the way Flash sees the world and the necessity for him to move fast to get a view at the world, at the beauty of the world, like he wants to see it in sort of slideshow style. I think it's perfectly comprehensible if you are running around as fast as the Flash does. You can see everything frozen like a picture. And somehow he's tired to do so. But every time he stops, this magic is gone. That's somehow the idea behind these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 beautiful pages. So, now the last book from Farel Dalrymple in my collection, even though it's stated it's by Jonathan Lethem, but he is just the writer of this book, while Farel Dalrymple has has to do the actual work. That's my opinion. I always think that artists tend to be a bit underrated sometimes. It's a Marvel book, believe it or not, Omega the Unknown, and a beautiful book as well. Done with this hardcover book with a clothy carton outside and pictures here on the inner sleeves. Although it deals with an alien and has some of these typical Marvel tropes, robots and superpowers, it has really an indie feel, even though this term is somehow overused a bit. And that's on one hand surely due to Jonathan Letham's writing, and on the other hand due to the original story, because this is a retelling of an old Marvel epic, 10 issues long, written by Steve Gerber and Mary Screens and illustrated by Jim Mooney. And the stories, as I can follow it in these afterward, here have some similarities, even though Letham surely modernized some things here. Maybe this drawing style is not something that everyone who read the old comics would appreciate, but for modern sensibilities it's really fantastic. It's great fun to read this book. And you get 10 issues in one handy format. So, another urgent recommendation of mine. But I think I have to finish this with this book. So, thanks for listening and watching. Goodbye.